Alright, so it's dark. We're gonna have to turn on a light. But this is 0.75 seconds to peak torque, which is my most common complaint of this of Toyota. Slow torque rise time. Now I did modify safety, so you do not want to screw around with safety, meaning safety limits, Panda or otherwise, unless you know what the hell you're doing. Because before I got it dialed in, it violently jerked the steering wheel around. But this is really the smoothest, most confident I've ever seen Open Pilot, and I'm able to take some insane S-curves and stuff. There's a car coming. Sorry. I have to turn off the light. So a disadvantage of running with these high time to peak torque values is that you also have to up your max steer delta error differential between the torque motor and command or whatever the hell, and you have to raise your steer override torque. So tugging on the steering wheel, it's harder to override. It's still manageable, but it's still harder to override. Okay, big 90 degree. Car. Alright, so we're going to get up here to these S-curves. Now, this is pretty much single lane line S-curve. It's always been impossible for op to do safely, ever. And if we have the same experience that I just had a moment ago, I think you are going to be rather surprised. "30 miles an hour, I will leave my hand near the wheel." Oh, this is scary. Okay. There's left. And right. And into big left. Into big right. Oh, scary. Okay. See, didn't touch the wheel at all. And here comes the biggest one of all. Okay. Yeah, check that out. Oh man. I've never been able to make that before. Ever. That is absolutely insane. Alright, we'll turn off the light so I can actually see what's around me. There's lots of deer and wolves and stuff out here. So the time to peak torque is important. So Toyota has the highest in the business. Is 1.5 seconds to peak torque. And torque is limited between negative 1500 and positive 1500. And rise time, there's like a delta between the command and motor of like 350 by default. So I'm not quite sure on all the details there, but it seems like Open Pilot can't command a torque value over 350. Faster than 1.5 seconds or something rather. Anyway, long story short, what ends up happening is that lateral requests a certain angle, and PID, INDI tries to move the wheel to whatever angle that it wants, but it can't in time, so you end up overshooting, correcting, or yeah. So it basically means that the torque that gets sent to the wheel it's not fast enough to actually respond quickly enough as to where the wheel needs to be at any specific time step, or at least during curves and things like that. So having a faster time to peak torque allows the steering wheel to move faster to where lateral control wants it, NPC, path plan, all that other jazz, acronym, bingo. But anyway, long story short, you end up with an experience that if things go wrong due to bad lane lines or misidentified lane lines or whatever, you can find yourself in trouble twice as fast versus the stock value. So instead of the steering wheel being able to jerk over and into a tree, it jerks somewhat over and then you can correct in time. But I argue if you take a look at the Subaru and Hyundai and all the other safety stuff, the peak torque time is like 0.8 seconds, steer delta up. So it strikes me that the old safety value of 1.5 seconds for Toyota is sort of an old constraint, because it was like the second car added after Honda, right? And Honda doesn't really have torque limits because you can send whatever commands you want to it, and it has the torque of a limp noodle. So anyway, yeah, by far, again, sorry, I have to say it, but this is the smoothest, most confident open pilot experience I've ever had, and it only came at modifying safety. Again, I don't recommend you do this unless you know what you're doing. There's nothing quite like having the steering wheel immediately jerk into a tree or something, because that's not cool. All right, I'm gonna end it here. I've been rambling along too much.